Um, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a great crowd today. I'm Claire Whitco. I'm a volunteer mentor at SCORE and work with some of our awesome mentors and other folks on the SCORE Chicago team. And I figured it would probably be a little bit helpful before we hand it over to Fernando for the bulk of what we're actually talking about today, just to give you all a little bit of background about SCORE. We are, for those of you who are not familiar, we are a national nonprofit and we have chapters all over the country. We actually represent the Chicago SCORE chapter, but we are focused on helping small businesses get off the ground, grow, achieve your goals, particularly through education and mentorship. So we've been around for quite a while, since 1964, and we've been helping folks, as I mentioned, across the country. So here in Chicago, our mentors are all generally experienced entrepreneurs, corporate managers, executives with a diverse set of industries and specialties who volunteer their experience. So it's all completely volunteer run. And we particularly help small business professionals anywhere from the start to the in the between, the developing, as well as growing your business. We offer free and confidential mentoring on an ongoing basis, as well as low cost or no cost business training, free online workshops, as well as lots of templates and tools. So we encourage you to go to our website at score.org. That's SCORE. You can see it behind Fernando's head. There's a little SCORE logo up there, but it's score.org. And you can submit a mentoring request, which would help if you want more individualized attention. And again, those are all free. It's a fantastic service, but then there's also a wealth of other resources like templates and tools as well on there. So I will pretty much stop talking, except for I'm going to hand it over to Fernando Nunez, who I'm actually will briefly introduce, and I'll let him do a little bit more. He'll obviously go more in depth about who he is, but Fernando's been working with SCORE for, has it been 5 years for you, Fernando? Did I just
this is my second year.
Second year. Okay, I made that up. The timeline is all very large. You know, when COVID just makes everything much larger. I knew it was longer than I had been. So, but Fernando is both as an entrepreneur, but also works as an entrepreneur with his wife as well. He's been a SCORE volunteer, as you've heard, for 2 years. And he's really been, he's very involved in, he's in the construction industry, as well as coaching and consulting as well, to lots of different businesses. So he's been around, he's done a lot of different webinars. I've had the pleasure of working with Fernando before, and he's got a wealth of experience about getting in detail about your businesses, as well as explaining just kind of how overall things work as an entrepreneur and things you want to be really thoughtful about. So again, without further ado, I will hand it over to Fernando, and we'll be here for additional questions. And I think, Fernando, if you want to do questions, how you want to take questions in the end or in the middle, but for folks, if you do have questions, to put them in the Q&A, as we said earlier, and we'll get to them as we go along.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you very much, Claire, and hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us in this session today. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing the screen, and then we'll discuss briefly what we're going to be talking about today. So let me go ahead and get that started. Let me just move some things around on my screen. Okay. All right. So when I was asked to give this talk, you know, we wanted to see what we wanted to share with the public right now, and kind of the things that are important to entrepreneurs, to small business owners. And so I always come back to these two talking points, which is figuring out what your target market is. And then at that point, also, we get asked a lot is, how much should I charge? Am I charging enough to make this business successful and to grow in the future? So these are my two favorite topics to actually talk on, because if you understand this kind of base for your business, you can then spread out and continue to grow in other areas. So today we're going to be going over target markets and price points. We're going to be discussing what a target market is, and we're actually going to break it down a lot so that you can start to work on it on your small business, either if you're already in business or you're thinking about starting one. You can break it down to make sure that the product or that the service that you're offering is being geared and driven towards the audience that you actually intend to use that product or service. After that, a little bit later in today's discussion, we're going to be going over price points, different kind of ways that you can sell your model, whether it is a product or whether it is a service. And there's different ways of selling a product or service, and then what best fits you, and then hopefully give you some new ideas to move your product or service of some ways that you didn't think of were possible before. All right, so again, my name is Fernando. I have been with SCORE. This will be my second year. And then so, as Claire mentioned, after this, if you want some additional help to get some hands-on help with your particular idea or your particular business, you can visit score.org and you can sign up for free mentorship. I'll be stopping periodically throughout the conversation, so that way we can have questions that are answered that are more relevant to what we're talking about at the time. So after every few slides, I'll stop. I'll see that if there is any questions in the queue, I'll stop, and if they're relevant on the talking points that we're discussing at that time, then we'll go ahead and get them answered, so that way we don't forget them at the end. So when you do ask a question, and maybe if it's geared towards your industry in specific, maybe provide just a little bit of background of what kind of question you're asking, or where the question is coming from, so that way I can gear the answer towards you in specific, and it gives me just some more background to provide a better, more in-depth answer to your questions. All right, so we'll start. Okay. So let's start off this way. What is a target market? What is a target market? Why should you care about it? Why is it important? And why should you pay attention? So as a business owner, it's essential to know who your customers are and how to reach them effectively. This knowledge forms the cornerstone of successful marketing. This is where the concepts of a target market comes into play. Think of your target market as a specific group of people who are not only inclined to buy your products or services, but also align closely with your business's values and offerings. These are the folks who will be genuinely interested in what you have to offer and are more likely to become your loyal customers. So when you're thinking about your business right now and you have your product or your service, we do want at some point maybe our product or service to reach as many people, either here locally in Chicago or nationally if you're selling through e-commerce. We would love everybody to buy our product or service. But if you think about it, let's talk about some cars. There's all these different kind of brands of cars, and not one person likes each and every brand, right? And so each brand serves one particular market. And so once they figured out who that market is, then they form a plan on how to reach out to just that field, that group of people that are looking for this specific kind of vehicle, whether it be a family vehicle or a sports car, so something like that. So when you're developing the idea of a target market, it's going to help you essentially figure out who your customer is. And why do we need to know that? Is, well, when we're developing our specials or our price points or how we're going to deliver the product or service to our clients, we're going to know how these consumers that we're targeting, how they buy, when they buy, what they can afford, if your product is an economy level or if it's a premium service, right? Then you can price your product accordingly and you'll have more success faster with your business at that point. Once you actually get some traction with your product or service with your initial target market, then that's when, and you've proven success there, that's when you can start to grow, either by adding additional services or products or expanding on what you already have. But in order for you to first get that traction, we have to first figure what our target market is initially, and then move forward. A lot of problems that happen is we make a product and let's say we use Google ads or Facebook ads, and we don't know who we're targeting because we haven't done any kind of questioning. We haven't done any kind of surveys or asked our friends and family or asked our clients that have already been buying from us. So we haven't figured it out. So then we spend a lot of money on advertising to everybody, and it gets expensive, right? Because not everybody wants to buy our product or service. So once we narrow this down, and as you're working through this, you can start to ask yourselves these questions so you can create your group and you'll have a better understanding of who you're actually serving. Okay, so we're going to go through 10 characteristics, and then each one of the characteristics I'm going to have an independent slide for, and then we'll go more in depth and break it down. So these are the first 5. So when you're creating a marketing plan, when you're trying to figure your target market, you're going to do what's called a market analysis, right? And this is the best way that I could break it down. I wrote down these 10 points, and then we'll go from here. So the first one is identifying target customers and understanding their preferences. Second is analyze competitors and assess their marketing position. Third is evaluate market trends and identify growth opportunities. Fourth is determine the size and demand of that target market. And fifth is conduct surveys and gather market research data. All right, now you don't have to write these down because we're going to go in depth into each one of these. And then these are the next 5 topics that we're going to discuss are assess pricing strategies and potential profitability, examine distribution channels and accessibility to customers, analyze regulatory and legal factors impacting the market, identify potential risks and challenges in the market, and develop a comprehensive marketing and sales strategy. So why did I choose these 10 topics to talk on? So this is what's going to help you figure out, once you answer these questions, it's going to actually help you figure out who your target market is. We're going to see where they live, what kind of products and services they can afford, what kind of demand they need, and if your product currently fits their needs. And if it doesn't, that's okay. What do you got to do to change or adjust so you can fit your market that you're trying to serve even better, right? And so when it comes to business, that's all, we're continuously working on this. So once you even have this plan set in place, this is always evolving. I know in my businesses, my wife and I, we have a dog grooming shop. And so we're always looking at the service that we're offering our clients. And is it the best service that they need at this time today in 2023, the way things are going? Is the service that we're offering it, the clients that we've gotten in the past and the clients that we want to get in the future? We ask ourselves these 10 questions quite often. Are we still in the same range, right? And this is where you see where the larger companies sometimes close down because they lose track of this, right? They at one point they served one market, times have changed, and then they don't keep up with the times and they fall behind and they lose their base, right? So this is something that you're going to continue, you're going to develop today and you're going to work on for a while. And then you're going to continue to ask yourselves these questions as you're growing and as you're getting into new markets and as you're developing new products and services. You're going to come back to these 10 questions and to see if you're still on the same page with what your ideas are and with what the demands are out in the real world. Okay, so target customers. So what is a target customer? So we'll break it down and we'll go through this. So you want to define the ideal customer. So profile based on demographics or psychographic characteristics. When you're finding your ideal customer, first you want to ask yourself is, okay, are we going to go national, right, with the product that we're selling? Are we doing t-shirts that we're selling on e-commerce platforms? Or am I selling baked goods, perishable items that I have to make today and sell tomorrow, or sell today, right? And then where do these people live, their demographics? So as you're making it, you're going to write down the age, right? The age of the people that mostly buy your products, if they're male or female, what zip codes they live in, and what the medium income range is, right? If you have an expensive item, how much, and it's a luxury item, for example, how much would a household on average make, right, to be able to afford your product, right? Or is it a low cost item that the medium household income doesn't have to be that high if it's a $5 item, for example, right? So then you got to kind of figure that out, because if you have a really expensive product and you're trying to sell local, but the area that you're trying to sell it in has a low median household range that can't afford it, then you're going to have a difficulty finding. You might get a few customers, but you won't have the success in an accelerated form to be able to move your product faster. All right. So you got to define, right, what your ideal customer is, what he looks like. And you're going to gather data through surveys, and a lot of it's going to be research. Okay. So I get asked all the time, okay, but where can I do this research? Where, like, is there a book or is there a site where I can do it? A lot of it's going to be, just your hands-on work of, talking to your friends and family first, probably because they can give you the quickest feedback right now that you can reach out to today and say, hey, I have this product, I have this service that I want to offer. If you were to buy it, what do you think about this, this, and this, right? And you start asking your questions and you're getting their ideas, you're getting their feedback. So that way you have a base to start from. From there, literally you can just go on Google. I know we hear that all the time, but a lot of the information is there when it comes to surveys or other information that you're looking for, as far as even household medium incomes. Like, how much does a household make in a Chicago zip code? Or if you're in Evanston, or if you're in Naperville, right? If you're trying to figure out how much an average household makes in a certain area, you can put that into Google and it'll tell you, and give you that feedback. If you're trying to find out competitor data, if you go to the Chicago libraries, they have actually databases on their computers that already have sign up access. So you can actually compare your business to what other businesses are doing, past performances, information that's public, right? And so these are databases on their computers at the Chicago libraries that otherwise you would have to pay for to have the access to. So if you want something that isn't going to cost you anything, visit a Chicago library and you can start to do research there, right? And a lot of it is the time that you put into it to actually pull that information out. So you can make sure that when you start to price your item, that you don't price yourself too high or too low. And then how do you find this out? By doing that research. I'm always going online and I'm finding my competitors that are within my area to see what they're charging for their services. Not because I want to copy them, but I want to make sure that my prices are fair and we consider ourselves a premium shop. And so we're always a little bit higher, on the higher end, but that's okay, right? Because we're looking for a specific type of client that can afford a specific kind of service. And but at the same time, we're offering a very high premium service for their pets, right? But this I had to do over years of just continuously looking over and over to making sure that we're staying on trend and that our price points, right, are always on target as well. All right, so 3 is analyze customer feedback, preferences, and buying behavior to understand their needs. So if you are already in business, one of the best things you can do is you can go to google.com/mybusiness and you can create a free business profile, right? If you haven't done so already. If you have one up there, make sure you have all the information about your business on there. Why do I use that? Well, when you go to google.com/mybusiness, and now it's actually on the Google Maps, they changed the platform, but if you still go to that URL, and I'll put it in the chat so you guys can see it. So it's google.com/mybusiness. So if you go to that link, you can create an account for your business. You can put all the information there, the address, you can put up photos, the hours of operation, you can link your websites. And then once you have that approved, right, it goes to Google, it gets approved. Now you can they'll provide you with the link, right? Once you go onto your account, you can get that link, and that's what you can text to people, you can email to people of previous customers, so they can provide you feedback, right, and give you a star rating. It's really important because it's free. You get feedback instantly, right? As soon as I offer a service to someone, I was like, do me a favor, can you just go on here on this link and give me feedback on how we did, right? And you're getting feedback, whether it's good or bad. And if you do have a bad rating, it's an opportunity to figure out why you got the bad rating. What do we have to do better as a business, as a service provider, as a provider of products? Where did we drop the ball to kind of make this better, right? Are we servicing this particular target customer the right way? And so we're always analyzing. The goal is to provide the best product and service, so we're always getting 5 stars. But that's another free way that you can access today, so you can start to get that reputation out there without having to pay for an additional service right now. Okay, So point number 4 is segment the target market into district groups based on common characteristics and preferences. So let's say you are local, but you want to be in different areas. My suggestion to you, right, would be to start in the area where you know best, right? Maybe the area that the first area that you want to work in, and start small, because you can get the most feedback. You know the most about your general population in the area that you're going to be working in, most likely, right? Unless you're just going off into a whole new area that maybe you don't live around. But start off with a smaller segment, because you can get a lot of feedback fast, and you can change and you can grow from there, right? So, and then you can break it down. So some areas in Chicago, especially, you know, they have different buying habits, right? From the north side to the south side, from the city to the suburbs, you know, there's different living patterns, there's different ways people purchase stuff. And so you can kind of separate it, segment it that way. Another example is like when we go to open up our second location, we're gonna offer, right now we're out by Naperville, but when we open a location in the city, those are two different kind of customers. And so we're gonna change some of the items within our business ourselves to accommodate that new set of target clients in the different areas. So if you are looking to open multi locations, or you already have multiple locations, just think about how you treat each segment, each area of your clients, you know, right? You're obviously always going to be offering the same product and service, but maybe you're going to deliver it to them in a certain way, or you're going to give different kind of perks or whatever it be into different areas. All right, so create buyer personas to develop a deep understanding of customer motivations and tailor marketing strategies accordingly. So again, these are buying habits, these are behaviors, this one in combination with the first topic to defining your ideal customer. You're literally creating, just think about yourself, start with yourself first, and pick a product that you buy, you know, think about the last thing that you buy, and think about the kind of person that you are, your income levels, if you're male or female, if what area you live in. And okay, that for me, I was their target customer because I bought this product at a certain location at a certain time, right? And so that's a persona, right? That's your best client. And so that's why you're always you create a persona, so that way you're always targeting your efforts towards that same person, because there's multiple of us, right, that have the same wants or needs of a certain product. And once you have that persona in mind, now you can create Instagram posts or Google ads that are geared towards that client that you know at some point or another is going to buy your product because of their needs. So I see there's a lot of, let me just check right here real quick on the chat. Okay, no questions yet. Okay. All right, again, so yeah, if you guys do have questions, you know, I'll answer them on as we're moving on. You can put it in the Q&A, so nothing so far, so we'll keep moving. All right. All right, so we're gonna, oh, let me go back. Let's see, I went too far. Okay. So you've developed your target audience. You've created your persona, you know where they live, you know how much they want to spend, you know if they can afford your product or if they can't. What do we do next? We're going to analyze our competitors. Now, when we're analyzing our competitors, we're not doing it to copy them, we're doing it to get ideas, right? Our competitors most likely have already had years in the industry around us. And so they've already gone through all this, right? Now, are these competitors consistently updating? We don't know, right? But at least it'll give you an idea if you're new to running a business, or if you're already in business but you want to see what the rest of the people around you that are doing the same thing, what they're kind of doing now. That's why we're analyzing. Are they using new technologies, or are they offering a little bit of a different product that maybe we didn't think about, that maybe we need to start to think about to kind of keep up with the times? Am I priced really low? Am I priced too high? Or am I priced just right? So that's why we're analyzing. So you don't ever want to copy their pricing structure. Reason being is because your expenses for your business and what it costs you to make your product or service could be completely different than what your competitors are. But at least you're going to have an idea of the brackets, right? Of what of where you're at with your pricing and your business structure compared to other companies out there. So We're going to identify key competitors operating in the market. All right, so you want to know who's operating around you that's offering the same product or service. Reason being is maybe you make connections with them, right? So maybe you're offering something a little bit different than your competitor is, and they can actually become a benefactor, and you guys can actually share. You guys can actually share clients. I know we do with groomers all the time. There's some dogs that we don't take that other groomers take, and vice versa. So we share, we create more of a community instead of this big competition, because not every business wants to do the exact same thing as the next business, right? But we wouldn't know that unless we were analyzing, communicating with them, or at least going on their site and seeing what else is going on. So conducting a thorough analysis of their product, service, and pricing. We talked about that. So evaluate their target audience and their marketing strategies. So once you've created your target audience, how are they reaching out to their clients, right? I'll go on the competitor site and I'll sign up for their text message marketing. I'll sign up for their email marketing. And I don't necessarily do it with the smaller shops. I do it with the bigger shops. So for example, so we're dog grooming, and I'll go to like PetSmart and I'll go and look at their site and I'll see what they're offering, right? Why do I do that? Because they've already spent a ton of money, the money that we don't have as a smaller business. They've already spent a lot of money on researching on the times of day that they send out their email marketing, right? So now when I do email marketing, I notice that PetSmart sends out their emails at 1:15 p.m. I don't know why, but there has to be a reason. I'm sure they didn't just choose 1:15 p.m. to send out their emails. So I send out my emails at 1:15 p.m., right? And I started doing my own research. And then I send out my emails for marketing at different times, and I see if they still have the same open rates or if they're still being as effective. So I take these ideas from them, because they're already proven, right, in the business world, and then I adjust it to my smaller business ways, and to be able to assist my clients, more specifically. So you can see the bigger companies that are out there that are already doing what you're doing, and you can kind of, get an idea of where to get started that way as well. So you can assess their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And again, other businesses that are already in existence, they could be falling behind, right? Maybe they're not analyzing their competitors consistently. And so maybe they're really strong in one certain area, but you see like, oh, these people don't offer this, or this, and I do. And so now you can capitalize on that, because now you have the ability to move fast to start offering a specific product or service that other people around you that you thought maybe were offering it, but maybe they're not, right? So now you can capitalize on that, and you can push the products that they're not pushing even more. And so that'll bring you more success in that specific field. Determine their marketing positioning and competitive advantage, right? So if you're going up against a bigger company that's offering the same product or service as you are, right? Again, figure out, you can kind of see if you're just going on Google, right? And if they're using Google Ads, you'll see their ads right up top, right? Especially if they're in your area and you put in the keywords that a normal consumer would put in, you can kind of see where their marketing efforts are going, what they're doing for specials, or what they're doing to get ahead in their area. And this is a good tip when you're first getting started, because it saves you a lot of money from having to go through those pains and learn it yourself, right? And then you can start to test your theories on what kind of target market I'm going after, and if the one that I'm going after works, because other people are going after it too. Let me see. Okay, so let me see. So Shirley Fields asked, did I see a difference in my business when I did what they did? Okay. So when I started, when we opened up our business, and then we were our first initial influx of clients were, when you're opening anything new, we have a brick and mortar, and you have like a honeymoon phase, right? The first 90 days, you're new to an area and people see that. And then so in the first 90 days of a business, at least in my experience, I do see an influx of new clients that come in. However, those first 90 days, it's up to you to capture that information from your clients, whether it's an email or a text, a phone number, and then for you to control and have future marketing efforts after those 90 days. Because if you kind of don't take advantage of getting any kind of client information from the beginning, then that honeymoon phase in the beginning kind of fades off, right? And 3 months from now, we're not new anymore. And so what I did is those first 90 days, we got pretty busy because we opened up. And I was like, all right, now we have to start spending money on advertising or marketing in some form or fashion. What am I going to do? All right. So this is when I looked at other businesses that were larger than me that had been around in the area for a lot longer. I was like, let me see what they're doing. And so I noticed, right, the common stuff, text message marketing and email. And so I did their emails. And yes, when I didn't copy, the only thing I copied was what time they sent it out, right? But then I wrote my own sales copy, my own specials, the way I wanted to direct them to the website. I just copied the time of the day because I thought that was important, right? There's a reason why they're sending this at this particular time of day and not 8 o'clock in the morning and not 5 p.m. at night. So I did notice, and then from there I tweaked it, right? I had to go and test myself because then I did send emails at different times of the day, and I noticed that at some points that they were opened less, right? Because maybe people are busy at 8 o'clock, they're trying to get to work, and maybe people are too tired at 5 p.m. and they don't care about what they're going to read on the email. But maybe at 1:15, people are just coming back from lunch, sitting down at their desk, and they're checking their emails, and they go, "Oh, look, I got an email from Bohemian Spa. Let me check that out." That's what I thought. That's my theory. And so, I mean, I would, if I were you guys, started at 1:15. And then play around with it, right? And then let me see, there's one more. All right, and so AD Rivera asked, how can we know our competitors' pricing if it's not listed on their website? All right, so this is, you can go more in depth, right? And this is where it takes just that little bit of extra work and like how much you care about knowing about their pricing, right? So I've actually taken my dogs. And you can't be the best of your product or service if you don't know what the best already is out there, right? Because then you're just comparing yourself to yourself. So I want to see what the customer experience is that other people are offering to their clients, and I want to take that and I want to get it. I want to make it better, right? And is it fair? Or I don't think it's like a form of cheating because anyone can come into my shop. I'll welcome them and I'll show them. Everything's open and we'll talk pricing, and I'm not afraid to talk about it because at the end of the day, once they leave my shop, if they take all my ideas, they're still not my business, right? They're still not offering the quality of service that I'm offering. They're not putting in the hours that I'm putting into the website. So it's open, right? It's an open market. So if you really want to know the pricing, go to the shop, go to the store, go through their process of what it is to purchase something. So, and then until you get to the price point, right? So I've taken my dogs to other shops and say, hey, look, here's my dog. How much would it cost if I was to get it groomed here? How much would it cost to get groomed? And they go through the whole thing, right? And I just learned. And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't do that at my store. And I was like, oh, I don't offer that. Or I've been to other shops. I was like, oh, they don't offer anything that I offer. I wish I would actually just tell them so I can help them too, to help them grow. And because at the end of the day, there is a lot of business for everybody. But then I take all that information and I drive it to the point. I take the test to the point to where we get to pricing, right? So if it's not listed on their website, maybe you have to give them a call and you have to ask them for the pricing for a specific thing that you're looking for, right? So you have to put in that work of getting that information. So in the world of business, another good tip that I can give you is either you're going to spend one way or another. You're going to spend your time doing the research, doing the learning and educating yourself on whatever topic it is that you need to learn for your business, or you're going to spend money to pay someone else to do that for you, right? And as most of us start our small business, we don't have a lot of funds in the beginning. And so it's our time, the time that it takes us to go and visit the shop, to do whatever it is that we need to find out. All right, so we'll move on and I'll ask some more questions in a few slides. All right, so market trends. Things were different in 2019, things changed in 2020 and 2021 and up until now. So just because what you're doing today is working doesn't mean that even in 6 months or 1 month or a year from now, it's going to be the same. So as you're developing your business and as you're developing your products and your services, stay tuned with what other businesses are doing, with with how customers are spending, with what they're paying attention, their money is going towards, right? And so this is what it means to stay up with the market trends. Okay, so stay updated on current market trends and industry developments. Analyze market data and statistics to identify emerging patterns. Okay, so emerging patterns. As you're developing your marketing plan, you also have to decide if your product is a necessity, right, or if it's an additional luxury. So for example, right, if people don't get their dogs groomed, right, their nails grow too long, they get really stinky, right, all that excess fur is all over the house now. So maybe as things were going on through COVID, maybe they were getting their dogs washed less frequently, but at some point they still had to get their dogs bathed, right? So we just had to adjust and how the services were that we offered. Maybe we started to offer pickup and drop off services so people wouldn't have to drive to our location due to restrictions, right? And so we added, we pivoted a little bit to change with the times so we can make it easier for our clients to do business with us. Okay, so how do you have to change your business to make it easier for your clients to do business with you? During this time, you can also identify potential growth opportunities based on market gaps or unmet needs, right? Not every other shop around you was able to have a vehicle to go pick up, or the personnel to go pick up and drop off pets, right? So this is how we pivoted, right? This was an untapped market, right? And it was needs that weren't being met. And another thing now too, because things are getting really tight with the economy, a lot of people are trying to do things themselves. And so we're now discussing providing in-person classes just to our local zip codes on how they can bathe their dogs in between getting the haircuts, how they can bathe their dogs at home, how they can do home care with the proper tools. We find some dogs that come in that were not mistreated, but a client would try to cut their own hair on the dogs, or they would bathe them wrong, or they would use the wrong products, and it caused dry skin. And so like, all right, something is going on here. We have to help these customers because these dogs are coming in with dry skin or like patches cut off of their body. And so now we're going to do in-person classes for 10 to 15 people for them to come in, and we're going to show them how to properly bathe their pets, what products to use, and the proper tools to use. This is us changing with the market, right? Because now, and when they come back for their regular cuts, that's what we wanted to do. The dog's going to come in healthier, right? The customer's happy because they have a healthier pet, right? Pets to us are like our children to most of us, and and so now they also have the knowledge on how they can do this at home, right? And it also provides us another revenue stream because now we're going to charge for these classes, and we're going to charge for the tools and the products that we're going to sell to the clients, right? So we're not necessarily competing with ourselves, right, or losing business. Now we have clients that stay with us even more because now we've become an educator to them on the services that we're offering. So think about that in your own business, right? So it's not necessarily about always selling a product, but maybe you can also start to, in the world of today, I see a lot of teaching going on. Maybe you can also teach people on how to use your product better, or how they can do that service for themselves in between while you do that service on a more professional level, when needed, right? So you got to kind of think, stay inside the same box, right? Don't go too far out. Stay inside. I know people say, go out, think outside the box, but we have to stay with what we know, and then what's inside that box, how can we make it even better? How can we look like more of a professional to our consumers, because they're coming to us for the knowledge, and we're not afraid to share it with them, right? So we got to consider factors such as technological advancements and changing consumer preferences. Again, that's what we just talked about. A lot of people are trying to do things themselves, and with Zoom that you guys are on here with me now, we used to do a lot of these classes face to face, and now we're doing it with Zoom, and now we're able to access and provide this information out to multiple people that can't leave their homes, or can't drive to one central location, or just don't have the time, right? So we made that change with the advancements that are available to us now. So as you're creating your product or service, make sure that you're using all of the technology that's available to you, whether it's an email, an e-commerce platform where you can sell your products online. Make sure you're making sure that your website is fully optimized and easy to use, right? If you're a barber or you're a hair salon, if you need online appointments, making sure that people can book you online, right? So look at all the other technology that's out there and use it to your advantage. If you don't know how to use it, right, I'm sure there's additional videos either on Score or the BACP or even on YouTube, right, that can show you how to start to use this. And again, it's either going to cost you your time or it's going to cost you your money. So if you don't want to use the money, you got to use your time to learn this and practice these new techniques or these new technologies. Lastly, is to evaluate the potential impact of external factors, such as economic or regulatory changes on the market trends and growth opportunities. All right, so again, what we offer to our clients is more of a premium service, right? And so just because right now we're going through a little bit of an economic struggle as a nation, doesn't necessarily mean that us as a business that we're going to lower our prices, right? But maybe we're going to increase the level or quality of service in some form or fashion, so we can maintain our price points, and the customer also feels like they're getting really good value from what we're doing. I'm gonna go one more slide, and after the next slide, I will take more questions. Okay, so demand of the market. So conduct thorough market research to determine the target market size and scope. Analyze demographic data, including population size, age, and income level. So this goes, one on one with like the first slide, right? So I'm trying to think of another example. If your product or service can serve the masses, right? How big is that actual mass, right? If there's 2 million people in Chicago, from my market research, I believe it was like 47% of households over the income of $100,000 in annual income have at least one pet, right? So from the 2 million people, now I'm down to 1 million potential clients, right? Now, then I break it down. Okay, now how many of those people live in the zip codes that I'm trying to service, right? Because I don't service clients further than 10 miles away, because I also do pickup and drop off service. So that starts to narrow my market, right? And narrow the demand of the people that I can actually serve. And then from there, I say, okay, out of all these customers, on average, how old are they? So my clients are between 28 years old up to around 65 years old, okay? And the average household income for the market that I'm in is around $120,000. All right, so now I know when I'm creating my marketing plan and my advertising strategy, and you go onto Facebook and you can actually pick age, sex, zip codes, and now I can actually make this a smaller pool of people that I'm going to advertise to, and I'm going to have better results because I did this research before, and these people actually have the need of a service that I'm getting ready to provide. Now, if I didn't do that and I just turned on the ads to everyone all over Chicago, now I'm getting shown to people that aren't even relevant to me, and they don't need to see what I'm offering because they don't care, right? And so now I'm losing all this money. So that's why it's important to kind of figure out who your target is first, so that way you can move forward in your goals for your business. So assess your market demand by examining customer needs, preferences, and purchasing power. Okay. So we discussed that one. Evaluate existing market data, reports, studies to estimate market size. So if you want to kind of learn more about what your competitors are doing and when it comes to pricing, or if the market is even viable, right? If you're still in the thinking phase of should I open this idea, right? This is where you can actually see if the market that is currently existing is actually growing, right? The demand for that is growing, or if that particular market is shrinking, right? More and more people now, younger couples are having less children, and their pets are now their kids. And so in my market, it's on the trajectory of going up, right? An example of going down is like, let's say if you were selling handheld home phones, right? 20 years ago, it could have been growing, right? But then as things change and now we use our cell phones now more, that market And from what I've seen in the market over time, it started going down. So maybe it wouldn't be a good idea to get it in the landline and home phone service because that market's on the decline, right? So those are just two examples. So consider market segmentation and niche opportunities to refine the estimation of target market size and demand. So when you're first getting started, it's better to start off with a niche, or a smaller segment that you want to work with the best, or that you know the most about. And then you can start to add over time, additional services to additional markets, instead of trying to offer every service possible to one market, because now all of your efforts of providing the best customer experience is kind of scattered all over the place, right? So from my studies is four products in a business makes a business. If you just have one product, then you just have a product. You don't have a business, right? So, but you can start with the one product. Let's say if you wanted to get into phone devices and you wanted to start selling cases and Bluetooths and stuff like that. So you make your first phone case, right? That's your first product for, let's just say, iPhones. And you grow that a little bit over the first year, and now you add your second product and your third and your fourth, right? But you're not starting off with four products from day one, because you don't know if all four products are going to work. Okay, so pick one, pick your niche, focus all your efforts on that, and then continue to grow. All right, so that's the end of this one. So let's see what's okay. Okay, so we'll keep going. All right, so we're working on our plan. We're starting to sell our product or service. What do we do next? What are we doing as we're growing our business, as we're moving forward? Is we're going to continuously get surveys. There is another webinar on BACP's webinar page where we did a class on how you can build your own website. And the reason we did this is you can build your own website in 2 hours for very low cost. Like you can get it started for like $20, and you just search that on BACP's YouTube channel, how to start a website in 2 hours. And that can be a big platform for you to use, because now from there, you can actually do your email marketing and your surveys and all your information if you don't already have a site, okay? So if you don't already have a website, you can go check out that video as well. And then you can start to do kind of surveys or questionnaires to get more feedback, so it can propel you to move your product and service faster. All right, so why surveys? So we're going to design surveys and questionnaires to collect valuable market research data, right? This is your opportunity for you to get direct feedback on your specific product or service. Is it working? Does it cost the right amount? Does the client feel if they got the best value out of the product or service that they purchased? Are the services, was the whole operation from the point of first contact to using the product or service, how was that experience? And what feedback can they provide for us to make it better, right? For the next customer, or for them when they return, to make it even better. You can identify target respondents and distribute surveys through various channels. So when you're doing a survey, right, if you have a site, you can put it on there. If you're using email marketing, and if you can put up MailChimp, if you can put in the chat MailChimp.com, that one is a good site where you can, I believe it's the first either 2,500 or 5,000 emails they provide to you every month for free. And that's MailChimp.com. That's where you can go and you can collect people's email addresses and their names. And you can use that to kind of get started to send, blast emails with specials or with just information about your product or service. And you can kind of start to play around and it'll give you the amount of times that it was opened, if people read the whole thing, or how long they were on the survey for, or on the email. There's also another one called surveymonkey.com, and you can create free surveys. Up to a certain amount, you can create free surveys and you can send those out. It'll provide you with the link. And you can, if you have Instagram or Facebook, or you can put it on your Google page. But if, like, let's say if you have an Instagram story and you have that link, you can provide that link on your Instagram story so they can, give you some feedback on your product or service if they've used it before. All right, so that was surveymonkey.com. All right, so you can use open-ended questions and closed-ended questions to gather qualitative and quantitative insights, analyze surveys response to identify trends, patterns, and customer preferences, and leverage data visualization tools to present findings and draw actionable conclusions. Okay, so I love to use surveys to see if what we thought our product or service was going to be to the public, if they're also perceiving it the same way. So this, in combination with reviews, is how we make sure that the clients that we're trying to target, that we're targeting them in the right way, and the services that we intended to offer, that they're receiving them in the right way, right? When we come up with the strategy and we thought a service was going to be for a specific kind of group or a specific kind of people within our client list, and it actually went to all these different kind of clients, then we try to figure out why that was, or what we did right or what we did wrong, right? So this is consistent feedback. It's important. It's important to do, because then you're always staying connected with your clients. And you want to become a brand that people love, right? Not just a one-time shop, unless you're selling a product that's one time, but then you also want to create referrals from that. So you always want to improve the customer experience, and you're doing that by providing surveys. Let's see. Okay, so real quick, Omar, he asked, any ideas on how to do a survey for a landscaping company? Okay, so first, right, if you have a landscaping company, and this can be an example for anyone that has a company, right? If you have a landscaping company, go to SurveyMonkey, right? And then first we got to think about what are the kind of the questions that you want to have answered, right? Do you want to find out if your services are priced right? Are they enough for what people are asking for? It's mostly when you're doing these surveys, you're trying to ask people the questions that you have, right? Like, oh man, am I charging enough? Am I offering everything that they want? Is there anything extra that I could be doing that maybe they're not telling me, or that I'm unaware of, that I could be doing more of? So these are the direct questions that you can ask, right? So whatever gaps you feel are in your business, or whatever you want to improve upon, those are the questions that you're going to put within your survey to ask, right? So that's, I would just think about what I want to answer. Where do I feel my pitfalls are in my business? And then Syed Ahmed asked, I have a website development business. Can I put the link here? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the answer.
I'll respond to that. I'll
Okay.
just say that I'm gonna respond in the chat privately to you. So,
Okay.
but then you can go ahead and do Marquisa's question too.
Okay. Any other surveys platforms besides SurveyMonkey? That's the only one I've ever used. And that's the only one I've ever used is SurveyMonkey. So I use them. I use MailChimp, and then I use my own CRM platform for my email marketing. So, and actually on Instagram as well, if you have a business Instagram account and you're creating stories, right, on what's going on in the day-to-day of your business, there's actually polls where if you click on the top right and it says polls, you can actually ask a question there. And it can be whatever kind of question you want. And these are the people that are actively engaging with you right then and there, and then through your video. So it doesn't have to be a whole formal thing where you create a whole survey and you email it out. All we want is just some feedback, right, on what we're doing today. Is it working? Is it reaching the right people? So that's where we got to keep in mind. Not everything has to be super nice and super fancy all the time. Sometimes we just want to make sure we're on the right track. So that's the only one I know, unfortunately. I don't know of any other ones. I'm sure you can Google, and there's a ton of them out there. I like that one because it has a free aspect to it. There's a portion of it that you can use that, that you don't have to pay for. So that, and using the polls or the questions on Google Stories. Okay, so moving on, assess pricing strategy. So we're going to evaluate competitors' pricing strategies to understand the market landscape. Okay, so again, are we within the right pricing? Are we too high? Are we too low? Or for our service, are we just right? Okay, analyze the cost structure and production expense to determine pricing feasibility. If you're already been in business and you feel like you're, and we're going to talk this about a little bit later on the sales part. If you've already been in business and you feel like you're not getting enough out of the product, or you feel like you're working way too much and you're not making enough, that's when we got to look at the cost structure. That's what we got to look at. Okay, what does it cost? We got to break it down, write it down, and break it down. What does it cost to make this product? What does it cost to provide this service? And you're going to write down, these called your cost of goods. So if you're making a water bottle, right, what does it cost for the machine to make it? What does it cost for the plastic to put into the machine? What does it cost for the labor? How long does it take? And now you know what it costs to make one water bottle. And from there, you're going to kind of add, how I like to put it is, you need to, when you're first starting your business, you have to add all the expenses that you have as an individual, you know, whether your business in combination with your personal expenses for the whole month. And now I know I need to, let's say, I got to make $10,000 to pay all my bills, my business bills and my personal bills. Okay. And so how many water bottles do I have to sell to be able to cover all my bills? Right. And that's kind of the goal, right? Maybe you can't, from day one, you can't sell the product at the highest point, at the highest price point to meet all your needs. But now you have a goal of what you have to one day start making in order for your business to be self-sufficient and operate. Okay. So if you feel like you're not making enough in your business, let's go back and see what it's costing you to provide that product or service. And then I'm going to teach you in a little bit how you can actually raise your pricing so it can meet your needs, right? A lot of times when we first start a business, we do it out of love. We do it out of love for providing that service or doing that or creating that product. And so we don't price it right because in our minds, we think this is too expensive. No one's going to buy it, but that's not true. But since we've started that way, we keep that price and we never raise the price over years and years. And inflation keeps going up and our prices keep staying the same. So I'm going to help you get out of that hole in a little bit, and so you can move forward and get better and get yourself out of the lower price point that you were once started with. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. So consider customer willingness to pay, perceived value of the product or service. Guys, when we're selling a product or service, we're solving someone's need, right? I bought a water bottle because I needed to hold water with me whenever I went to a location, right? We groom dogs because dogs get extremely hairy and stinky, and we need to solve that problem for customers. So don't just think that you're out here just selling a product or service. You're providing solutions to people's needs. And so what is someone willing to pay, right, for that solution, you know, to their problem? I think of it that way. And if you want to make more in your business, what, in addition to that problem that I'm solving, how can I either solve it the best, solve it the fastest, and solve it the most efficiently from a business perspective? Okay. And then from there, that's where you can actually figure out your price point and increase to the maximum that your quality of service is going to render that perceived value. So we're going to conduct pricing experiments on the surveys to gauge pricing sensitivity and demand elasticity. So you can also use a survey to ask people direct questions. If this was priced during from $1 to $5, would that be, you know, too much or too little, as opposed to $90 to $100, right? So you can actually ask the public the question, and you can kind of gauge where they're at, what they're thinking, and do experiments. And this is consistent all the time. In the last year, we raised prices 3 times for our service, and I have 700 clients in the book. I lost 2 clients, and I raised prices 3 times, but we did it in the right way. And now we're finally just now getting into where we feel our expertise and our service quality is actually matching our price points. All right, and lastly is we're going to assess potential profitability by analyzing revenue projections and cost projections. So if at the end of the month, if you've already been in business for a year, or you're just a few months in, but at the end of the month, you're just coming with $0, and you have to put more money into the business, and you just don't know why, because your money is coming in. Well, this is where you have to learn how to do a little bit of projections, right? Now that you have some information, or even if you're just getting started, you can do a forecast of what it's going to cost you to provide that product or service, and what it's going to cost you to pay all your bills, right? That's thing number one. And then two, you have to go into it with the expectation that it's going to take time to build a quality client base. Okay, it's going to happen over time. You're not going to open today and then tomorrow you're making 100% profit. I know it's slow moving, and if you want it to move faster, then that's when you start with more capital. But there's still a lot of learning as you're moving. So the best way to avoid a really short month, or not enough money at the end of the month, is to do a projection, right? Write it down on paper on what a good month would look like, what a good week looks like, and then what a good day looks like, and then what a good hour looks like. Break it down to the hourly level. So this could be different for different, I don't know what other services and products you guys are offering, but it could be different for everyone. And all I can do is give you experience from my businesses. I know how many pets, as far as revenue wise, we have to do a day in order for me to pay payroll, in order for the company to make money, and then for my wife and I to make some money at the end of the month as well. But that was done because I projected it over time. I know that if I book so many employee hours this week, that it's going to cost me this much money at the end of the week to pay payroll, right? And I know I have to pay rent divided by 4 weeks. And so I know that that's what that's going to cost me. So I use all my expenses, and I have a projection of my costs. And so now I know that even though we're fully booked today, maybe I have to take just one more dog to meet today's numbers. And if I do that 30, 31 days in a row, then at the end of the month, I'm going to be able to meet my projections of what I need to make at the end of the month. And before, when we didn't do that, we were just spending money on additional products that we needed for the store, or additional tools, without budgeting. And what happened was, at the end of the month, because we spent $500 on a dryer, for example, now we're $500 short at the end of the month because we didn't budget that properly, right? And so as small business owners, there is a lot to keep track of, but doing projections ahead of time is going to prevent you from running into these pitfalls, over time. Because if you have enough of those short months, that's when the businesses start to slow down and close down. So the more anticipation you put into the future, the better you can prepare yourself. Okay. All right, so we're going to move into distribution channels, and then we'll explain a little bit about what that is. Let me just move this down some. Okay. So what is a distribution channel? So a business distribution channel is like a pathway that helps products or services get to the people who want to buy them. It's the route of goods or services it's the route that goods or services take from the person who makes them to the person who uses them. Different types of businesses have different ways of getting their products to their customers. For example, some companies sell directly through their own stores or websites, while others work with middlemen like wholesalers or retailers. The choice of distribution channel is important because it affects how easily customers can find and buy products, which can make a big difference in the success of your business. So I decided to put this one in here because a lot of times we only recognize that customers buy from us only one way. For example, they'll come to my store, they'll buy a product, and then they leave, right? That's a direct to consumer retail distribution channel, right? That's just one channel. And we lose focus, or we forget to think that, hey, there's other ways that we can deliver this product through a different channel, right? And so that can increase sales, and it can increase the growth. So here we'll go through the different ways that you can offer, different ways to think about distribution channels that you can use for your business. and what you have to do. Okay, so we're going to evaluate different distribution channels to determine the most effective options, right? So here again, we're planning ahead. What is the best, most efficient way for me to get my product or service from point A to point B to my target market, right? If my target market is national, right, and I have to only sell online, what's the most effective way for me to get them their product? Am I going to ship one at a time out of the house or out of a warehouse every time someone buys it, and I just, I pay for postage or UPS or whatever it is each way? Or am I going to try to find a wholesaler in a central location and they can distribute the products as they're getting purchased, right? So we're going to think about, what makes sense for you, what makes sense for your business, and where is my business at as far as the level and the amount of products or services that we're offering at this time. So we're going to evaluate the different distribution channels. Next is we're going to assess the accessibility and reach of each channel to the target customer. Okay, are my products being sold in a city, right, where I have a lot of traffic on the street that can come into my location, or am I selling to rural areas, right, where maybe it's difficult for someone to come to my shop and I have to ship it to them, or maybe it's harder for them to come to me. So that's why during the time of COVID, we started offering the pickup and drop off service, right? That's another distribution channel. That's another way for our customers to get to us and they can still access our services, right? So if you're a service-based company, you can think about it that way. Always, when it comes to services, most of the time, either the client's coming to you in your location or you're offering services at people's homes or people's place of business, right? So we're going to think about, is there additional ways, additional distribution channels that make sense with what I'm doing today that's going to also improve my business? You're going to consider factors such as convenience, cost, and customer preferences, right? So that's why we have to focus on our target market first, because we have to also put into consideration not just what we want to push onto our clients, but what our core of group of clients, what they prefer, right? How do they like to shop? Because if we're just pushing ways that we want to work as a business to our target market, but they don't want to shop in that way, well, then that's where maybe you lose business to some of the other competitors that do offer the product or service in their preferences, okay? Now, sometimes if those don't line up, if you want to deliver the product or service to a specific group of people that aren't buying, then you have to reevaluate your target market. Maybe your target market is someone different. Maybe they're a little bit younger. Maybe they're a little bit older, right? So if something's not working, then maybe your market isn't the right market like you thought it was, and you have to reassess that. We're going to analyze competitors' distribution strategies and identify potential gaps or opportunities. Again, so to get the ball rolling, if you're new with the business and you're trying to figure out, I have a product, how do I get it to my customers? Most of the things that are out there aren't, when you're creating a product or you're creating a service, it's most likely not going to be 100% brand new, first time invention in the world. Someone else somewhere most likely came up with a similar idea, if not the same idea, and that's okay, right? But they've already been in business for some while. So that's where I go and I figure out, okay, what channels are they using to disperse their product and their service, right? So that's why I also analyze competitors to see what they're doing. You're going to optimize distribution channels to ensure seamless and efficient customer access. So once you pick a way of how you're going to get the product and service to your customer, you're going to continue to work on that delivery channel, right? You're going to continue, okay, now customers come here to my shop, I make them sign a paper, they give me the haircut they want, I take their dog in. I was like, okay, how can I make that experience, this channel, how can I make it even better, right? So, okay, maybe I can add online booking. And, but not only online booking, sometimes we have elderly clients and I want to make it easy for them too, because of our target market. So I also offer, they can book over the phone or online. And so now that's just different ways, right? That I keep in contact with my customers' preferences that's within my market. And I'm always trying to optimize that and make it better. Now I'm looking at my website. Are all the buttons working? Is every link all the information that I'm trying to provide to my clients, is it the best and easiest information to read, right? So we're always looking at that. So once something's already built for your company, don't think that it's one and done and you walk away from it and you start working on something else. Yes, you're going to continue to grow, but always come back and say, okay, this process that we've already created, now how do we make it better? Okay. Oh, I did it again. Excuse me, I went back one too far. Okay. Okay, so other things to think about when you're looking at your target market and doing your analysis is regulatory and legal factors. Okay, sometimes we don't think about these things. So that's why I'm bringing it up here. So we're going to identify and understand the laws and regulations applicable to the target market, right? So within your product or services, do you have the right licenses, right? Do you need special permits to offer what you're offering? When we opened our shop, they actually, in the area that we were in, they categorized us under a veterinary, right? So the dog groomers were under veterinary license. And so we had to go to City Hall and have a whole meeting and everything. And so this is when you're doing your research part. If it's a service or product that's maybe in question, do the research if you have to get anything special to be able to provide your product or service. One, because you got to figure out, this took like 8 months to get, right? Because we had to go and set up or not even like 6 months, because we had to go through the meetings and we had to wait for the timelines and all that stuff. So had we not done that research beforehand, but we thought we were ready to open and we bought all the products and we were ready to get going, and then we had to wait 6 months later to get the license, that would have put us 6 months behind. So in this phase right now, you got to look at your business and see if there's any additional licenses that are required, either locally at a state level or national level. Okay. And we're going to analyze how regulatory compliance can affect business operations and market entry, for the same reason why it affected us, because we just had to wait that 6-month period until we got approved. Assess potential legal barriers, restrictions, or requirements for product service offerings. So if you're making a product and maybe, let's say it's for like babies or something, like let's say you're making a baby product and it has to get tested, what is that going to cost? What kind of barriers, what additional funds do I need to put up in order for this kind of stuff to get approved? So the more research that you do up front, right? Maybe if you can't afford it at this point in time, or you don't have the time because you need to start it right now, then maybe that idea that you have can just be pushed off a little further, because it's going to take you some more time or money to get it going, as opposed to going ahead and getting a product made or going ahead and registering your service-based business and then hitting a wall and saying you can't open because you don't have the proper paperwork in place or the proper permits in place. And so you can avoid all that by doing the research prior to putting any kind of funding into the business in the first place. So we're going to stay up to date in changes in legislation or industry specific regulations. Once you're in a business and you've gone through like round one of what the regulatory stuff is, then you kind of know if some things are going to be changing or what you have to kind of keep in track with to make sure that your business stays legal, within the rules. So consider the impact of intellectual property rights, licensing permits, and certifications on market activities. So if you're creating a new product, right, doing the research to making sure that that product doesn't already exist and you're not infringing on someone else's property or someone else's rights. That would be a good time to do even a search, right? If something's already existing, and if I make that product, but I make it just a little bit different, is that okay? Do I have the right licensing for what I'm about to do? Is the area that I want to work in, does it even allow for what I want to do to be in operation? So some places you can do at your residence, some kind of businesses you can work from home, and there's some kind of businesses that you can't work from home, right? So you kind of figure that out before before you start your company, and then you could possibly get in trouble, and that's where the BACP comes into play, because they can help you, figure out all this stuff as well as your permits and your certifications. Does the individual people that work for you, do they have to be independently certified? If you're starting a plumbing company, right? Everyone has to have a plumbing license, right? To be able to be a plumber to go and work, right? As opposed to like in someone that's in lawn care, right? You don't have to necessarily have a permit to be able to operate a machinery to do lawns. Okay, so that's where you have to make sure that before you get into something that you're on the right track. Okay, so risks and challenges. So we're going to conduct comprehensive risk assessments to identify potential threats and challenges. So if you're going through and developing your target market, and you're going through the previous one we just did with all the legal stuff, you're going to see potential areas where you could run into a wall and avoid those before you even get to them, right? So this, by doing all this is a comprehensive more risk analysis. Analyze the market competition and potential disruptions from new entrants. So if you started a company today, how easy is it for other people to start that same company around you, right? How quickly can the market get saturated if like 5 more grooming shops open from from down the store, right? So you got to kind of keep track of that. And if it's a big cost to entry, if it costs a lot of money as far as equipment or location to break into an industry, then that competition is going to be fairly low, right? And so you can kind of evaluate if it's easy or hard to get into this industry that you're either already in or thinking about getting into. You can evaluate economic factors such as market volatility or inflation that can impact business stability. So especially right now, if you're getting ready to start a business or you're already in business, we got to look at the economic factors that, okay, if gas goes up $1 more, I can't afford to drive. Let's say if we're, let's say you're doing Lyft or Uber, right? And if gas keeps going up, then at some point, it doesn't make sense to continue to do that or something like that, right? So we got to look at all the outside factors and not to avoid them, but to anticipate them so you can pivot, right? So you can kind of have an idea of what needs to be done if something changes in the economic factors and it causes some stress on the business itself. But if you have that thought ahead of time, you now know what you can do to kind of change directions or offer different products and services for your customers to be able to address those needs. We're going to identify potential risks related to changing consumer preferences or technological advancements. Especially now, we all know about ChatGPT and that's coming out. And, the world is more quickly advancing towards technology. And so that's going to change consumer preferences. And what can we do as a business to keep up with the technological advancements? What do I have to learn today so tomorrow when newer things get rolled out, our business is better prepared for it? We're going to consider external risks like natural disasters, political instability, and regulatory changes. For most, we can't foresee a natural disaster, and we can't control what's going on with the government. But if at least we have to have some bearings on it, right? So it's just all about being aware and considering external risks. And if something does happen, you kind of have an idea of what your business is going to pivot towards, if anything were to cause some risks for your business. So these are just things to consider as you're working through your marketing plan. Okay. So we've gone through, 1 through 10 on when you're creating your market analysis for your business. You've done all that. So what's the purpose of doing all this research? Why do we have to do this one time and then do it again over the life of our business? So here's the best way that I can come up with, right? So you have it all done, and these are the steps to move forward into developing a comprehensive strategy. So as you're creating this plan, you go through these steps. You can clearly define clear market and sales objectives aligned with your business goals. Okay, so if you have either a certain target funds, amount of money that you're trying to make a month, now you can actually see on paper, all right, if I offer these products or services to this particular target market, will it at some point or another align and help me reach my business goals? If not, what do I have to change right now before I invest any kind of funds and time to be able to reach these business goals? Okay. So here's where you're also going to conduct your market research to understand the target customers and their needs. Again, we're doing all the work beforehand, before we invest our money, before we invest our time, to making sure that our idea, that our business is even viable in the first place. So we're going to continue to identify competitive advantages and unique selling propositions. Okay. So again, once this plan is done and you've gone through the first round of competitive advantages and compared yourself to other people that are out there, we're going to see what can we do to continue to be unique, to continue to be the best at what we're doing in our area. We're going to continue to develop target market campaigns and channels to reach the desired audience. Okay. So we know who we're going after. And when you write your first email marketing blast or your first text messaging blast, it's probably going to be the worst one. Why? Because now the next one, you've already gotten some feedback on how many people actually read it, how many people actually used the discount that you did, or actually booked the service or bought the product. So your first one's going to be the worst one, because the next one should be better. It should be said better. It should be presented better. So it's always a continued improvement, right, to the desired audience. And when it comes to that kind of stuff, you guys just don't be afraid, just send it, right? If you're doing an email marketing and you're listening to the channels that I told you about today, and you're like, oh, what if they don't like it? What if it doesn't make sense? It's okay. I know that my first one is probably my worst one, but I send it out just to get that feedback. If no one opened my email, that is feedback in itself. That means that what I wrote was not good at all. So don't do that again, right? And so that's why don't be afraid as we're moving forward to just take the risk, right? And just send out the campaigns that you're trying to do. One, because most of these that I've given you, they're free. So they're not costing you anything other than a little bit of time. And so you can test. And then once you've seen something that works, now you can start paying money into it. And because once you put money behind a good campaign that works, that should equate into more revenue for your business. All right, so 3 is you're going to implement effective sales strategies, including pricings, promotions, and distribution. You're going to continuously monitor and evaluate strategies performance for adjustments and improvements. Okay, so again, when it comes to this is just day one, the base of your business. And then tonight you're going to go to sleep, you're going to absorb all this. Tomorrow you're going to start writing everything down, and you're going to always monitor, right? When I go back, right, I'm at a conference right now, but when I go back and I get back in my business, I'm going to see how everything went. And I'm going to take a look at our CRM system. And I already know the procedures and process that I have in place. And there's had to have been something that went wrong, right, while I was away. And that's okay, right? That's business. And now I'm going to figure out why that particular thing went wrong and what I got to do, what I have to change, what procedures I have to change. So next time I leave my business, that same issue won't happen again, right? And that's how we have to think in the world of business. All right, so we're done with that. And so now let's talk about a little bit of sales and pricing strategy. And I'm gonna go a little bit faster because I want to give you guys, okay. So ways you earn your income for selling your product or service. So there's different ways, other than people just think that, cash in and cash out is the procedure for selling your service. But when you're offering the initial price points for your products, there's different ways of breaking into a market. And if you're already in business and you've already done one of these, most likely you did one of these to break into a market. You can kind of like relaunch. After you created your plan, you can kind of relaunch with a different strategy, and it's okay for you to change, right? So just because what you've had before or in place right now, that doesn't mean that that's what you have to keep. So let's go through these. So cost plus pricing structure. So this is this is how most businesses operate, right? So you're going to take the cost of your product or service, what it costs you to produce it, and then you're going to add up your markup costs. Either you're going to if it costs you $10 to make a product and you do it times 3 and you're selling it for 40, right? What it should do as you're thinking about the cost plus pricing is you want to make sure that you know how many units you have to sell in order for it to cover your bills, right? When we first start off, and if we're selling a product too low and it's not even covering our costs, that's when the businesses tend to close, right? But I'm going to show you how you can increase that over time So if you wanted to start low and then go higher over time, then that's okay too. But that's just one of them. That's how most businesses operate, is cost plus pricing. Penetration pricing is offering a low initial price for market entry. So let's say you know that you're about to create a product that's really saturated, but you know that your product is just a little bit different or a little bit better, it's a little bit stronger, or it's easier to use. But you need to just get your name out there. So you enter a market with a really low price, because you're just trying to build brand awareness and say, hey, we're here as well. We also offer this, but the difference with us is this, and this, right? So that's penetration pricing. And then over time, you can say, for a limited amount of time, or because of our launch for the next 30 days, our pricing that is normally $99 is going to be $49, right? If you book today, right? So that gets you brand awareness and people try you out. That's when you get your reviews. That's when you get word of mouth, and then you grow. And then after a certain timeline has come and gone, you go to your original pricing. You don't always have to start that way though. You can also start with premium pricing. So you're going to charge a higher price for superior value. So if you're providing a high quality service because you're an expert at what you're doing and no one else can do it the way you can do it because you have 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the industry doing a certain thing, right? People would pay more for that knowledge and that expertise and that superior value. So that also provides exclusivity, right? Because you only have so many hours of yourself. If you're offering a service-based business, you only have so many hours of yourself that can go around, right? So you're a rarity, right? But at the same time, yes, yeah, if you're going to go off of premium pricing and charge the most in your industry, you also have to deliver, right? You can't charge a premium price and then and then provide economy level services. Okay. Dynamic pricing, so is adjusting the pricing based on real-time factors. So these are maybe commodity items that go up and down with supply and demand. Let's say, for example, like gas. That's a good one, right? Because you're adjusting price on real-time factors. Not too many businesses are on this route, but that's what it is. It's called dynamic pricing. Skimming pricing is setting a high initial price and gradually lowering it. This would be a lot more like on the technology side. So if something's brand new and people want it, and your initial buy-ins are the ones that want to buy the product as soon as it launches. So let's say it's $1,000 for the best example is like an Xbox or a PlayStation, right? Normally when the next one comes out, they already have a base of people that want that product, and it's like their initial buyers, they already want that. As soon as it comes out and hits the shelves, they're going to buy it. So they know that, and so they start their pricing really high, and then after a few months, the people that really wanted it in the beginning already got it, and so now they want to keep on selling their units, so now they lower it. So the next level of people that can afford it, they can start buying it, right? They're not going to make as much profit, but they're still going to make some, obviously. And so then that's a strategy as well as the skimming pricing. So, all right, so we're going to work towards charging for a solution, right? Not just an end product. Again, as you're thinking about your product or service, you're not just selling a product or service, you're selling a solution to someone's needs. All right, so if you're newer in the business, you can actually go through a cycle and you can actually test it and see how everything works, if it works within what you want to accomplish, and what changes you need to do. So last year, like I said, we increased our prices 3 times, and we increased the price. We informed our clients prior to that we were going to increase the price, both in the store and like via email. Then the day came where our prices increased. We monitored the feedback, right? We sent out the surveys. Hey, what do you think about the service after you got it for the new pricing? And then we kind of monitored it, and we let it run for 3 months. And then we took data, we took all the feedback, and then we made the decision. Like, all right, are we going to stay with this price? Are we going to adjust it? Do we need to add more services to it to make it worth, what the clients are now paying? Did the demand go up? Did the demand go down? And then so that's where you're going to analyze. So just because you're launching, even if it's the first day you're launching, or if it's the first day that you're increasing your price, you can't just increase the price and then drop off and then just let it go and then keep going with business. No, you're going to use that time to study, because you're going to raise prices again in the future, right? Why? Because the way of life, inflation goes up percentages every year. And so your costs are going to go up. So you're going to study and see if the rollout that we did, if that worked, and if it worked, great. Well, next year when we raise prices again, maybe it's not a huge increase, but we'll follow the same pattern, and our clients that it's our target market should also accept the next pricing as well, right? So, and it happens to us all the time as consumers, right? If we go somewhere and one day it costs a little bit more, some of us are frustrated because the rollout of the higher pricing, we weren't informed that it was going to go up. We assumed that it was the same price as last time. And so maybe it was the fault of the business because they didn't inform us, right? So that's where they should have analyzed things that they could have done different, right? And you don't want to fall into the same issues. So by analyzing what you just did with your prices, now when you go to do it again, it's easier and it becomes more accepted. Excuse me. So when do you know you're outperforming your competition, right? So if you're already in business and you've already set a price point and you want to make more, right? Your demand for your product or service has to be there already, kind of. So the best example I can give you is just a personal one, is we're booked out for a month, right? And then we started getting customers, we had to turn away clients because we no longer had the capacity to offer services to our existing clients. So like, oh, you know what, now it's time, because the demand is there, because we're getting these referrals and we're having all these continuous calls and online bookings, because the demand is there, I think it's time for us to raise pricing, because now we're losing out on potential business or potential revenues that we can have, right? Because if we're not getting the money, then another company's getting the money somewhere else. And so that's why you're forced at some point or another to raise your price. How you get to that point is by solving the need and providing a really good quality product or service. And so how do we do this? Is we get a lot of referrals, right? So after we're done with all of our services, we ask for a referral, either by giving us a review online or by asking them to refer us, right, to other of their friends or family. So the quality of your work has created buzz, and now there's more demand that's being requested. All right, so what can you do, right? What can you do when there's more demand and there's not enough you to go around to fill the demand? Strategies are, you can do an annual increase, right? So if you know that your products that you're buying to create your product or service is going up every year, you can just have an automatic annual increase of your product on the pricing on your product every year at one time of the year. My recommendation would be to do it between May and March. Reason being is because if you do a price increase every year in the beginning of the year, right, that's right when people are most likely getting ready to pay their taxes and stuff. So this is what I've seen. In the beginning of the year, not so good. People don't accept it that much because there's already a lot of money that just came out. We just went past the holidays and we just spent a lot of money during the holidays. And so now we don't want to go into another business that's going to raise a price, right? So, but usually right around May, between May and March, we have our price increase in April. And it's every year it's posted on the wall. So every year the customer knows that the following year it's going to go up a little bit, right? Percentage points, because we know that stuff gets more expensive every year. There's less material and stuff to go around. So you can just do an automatic annual increase every day. If right now you're already in operation and you have clients, you can actually, and you don't kind of want to upset them, you can actually grandfather your existing clients and let them keep their same pricing for the next 6 months or the next year, and then tell them, hey, we're going to go up in pricing, but you're going to keep your same price for a whole nother year. And then for your new clients that come in, the new clients didn't know anything about the old pricing, so they get all the new pricing, right? So that's how you can keep your existing clients at your existing pricing. They're happy. You're happy because you're keeping them, and now you're going to be making additional revenue from your new clients that are coming in, paying the higher price points. And then also, so when lead times are getting longer, so if you are like, let's say the other gentleman that was in the landscaping, right? If you're getting more clients, but you can only get to so many lawns, in a summertime because you're having so many, well, then there's clients within that target market group that are willing to pay more to ensure that their services for their homes are being met, right? So now you automatically increase the price. You inform them that you're going to do that, or towards your new customers. And there's just times where there's some old customers that just can't afford us anymore. And I don't know, it kind of sounds like not mean to say, but that's okay, guys. Because there's always going to be another company out there that's going to service the client that kind of fall out of our target group. So don't feel bad. It's just a way of business. Sometimes there's companies that get more expensive that I can no longer afford, right? So it happens to us as well too. And that's just the way of business. That's okay. I'll find another company that can meet my needs. I'm just not their customer anymore. And so, okay, so once we're actually increasing the price, how do we communicate this? So if you do the annual increase, then it's always on your website. It's always posted in your shop or your location if you have one. Or if you're doing like catering or something like that, you can communicate this. And so I recommend, you can do it once a year, so that way that you're keeping up with the costs of inflation and the cost to operate your business. And it's an opportunity every year for you guys to give yourself the raise as well. So if you do that one, then just be consistent with that one year over year. So raise your prices around the same time every year. Advise clients all ways of communication. So I have it posted on my walls. I send out emails, and I remind them as well when I talk to them, hey, don't forget that next time you come in, or in 6 months from now, this is what your pricing is right now, but this is what it's going to go up to. And that's why we haven't lost that many clients, is because we've given them enough chance and enough time that if it was going to be too expensive for them, they still had 6 months to figure it out and go find another business that was more within their budget. So as long as you communicate with them well in advance, the further in advance you let them know about what the changes are that are coming, the better it is for you. And they're not as upset about it. And they understand, and they, okay, I get it. I'll pay the 2 or 3% more of whatever it is. And, we'll keep doing business with you. And consider keeping prices for some exclusive or larger partners. So if you have favorite clients, right, that are always buying from you, you can make exceptions for a few clients, and you can keep that pricing. And it doesn't have to be forever, right? Say, hey, look, everyone's getting this pricing, but you're here every day or every week or every month, and you're buying from me. So I'm going to give you this pricing for you only for the next 6 months, right? So when you're giving something to a consumer, let them know what it is that you're actually giving to them, because now they're going to appreciate that, right? The savings that they're getting, and they're going to, now what are they going to do? Now they're going to continue to push your brand via word of mouth, and they're going to get you new clients. And the new clients that come in, the new clients are going to pay the new pricing. Okay. So you can also think about it in that way, as instead of spending advertising dollars, right? This is your advertising and your marketing dollars, just working in a little bit of a different way. I think, okay. And all right, guys, so that is, we've come to an end. I think I went over, and, but let me see, let me just make sure.
Hi, Fernando.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I know we had some questions about how people could contact you, so thank you for sharing that. And I know we did have you had a lot of great information, so we did go a little bit over, so we don't have time for as many questions, but that's okay. We only had a few, so I can try and pare them down for you if that's okay, if you've got another minute or so. And for those of you who can stay on, it would be great. And one of the questions just came in from Malika. So what would be a wise strategy to hire additional help when you have an overflow of clients, considering your costs and profits?
So the best, when it comes with hiring, right, that's like a whole nother, class, because trying to think, because I'm actually having this issue right now too, is we have a lot of demand, and in my field, we don't have a lot of professionals that are already educated. We have to kind of educate the people that are coming in to work with us. So you can either, the fastest way would be, if you wanted to keep it low cost, is you can bring people that don't have experience in the fields that you're doing, and you can train them, and it's just going to cost you time. And but they just have to be willing to do the work in the field that you're working in. So that's the fastest and lowest cost. And then you just train them the way that you want them to work for your specific industry. And that's what I'm having trouble with right now, because there's not a lot of education or schools for groomers and bathers. So the best way is, first you got to find out, okay, yes, you have a lot of stuff coming in, a lot of demand coming in, but out of that demand and out of that price point, you got to figure out that their labor, however much you're going to pay either for their labor, either hourly or by contract, what you're going to be able to afford for that extra help. So write it down, or write how much you want to pay for these people to help you, and if it's going to be part-time, full-time, or just contract-based, until that that workload goes down, or if you anticipate that it's going to continue to go, as long as you forecast again how long you're going to need them for, and how much you're going to pay for them to do the payroll properly, and you're going to maintain in a positive, then you'll be more successful, as opposed to just hiring someone, interviewing them, and saying, okay, I'm going to pay you $20 an hour, but you never did an analysis to even see if $20 an hour made sense for your business, for that service or product that you're providing. So find out how much you can pay the people, how much production they'll provide for your product or service, and then what the profitability is from there before you hire someone. Don't do it the other way around.
Awesome. And then we have another question from Yancy that I will try and condense a little bit, but this is basically surrounding a question about how many businesses of the same type can kind of be in one spot. We know that there's a Starbucks in every corner these days, but you know, if there are laws that say that there can be no more only a certain number of businesses of the same type in a block, and wondering if there are any laws or any information about finding that. And I don't know if Fernando, if you know that, but also perhaps our colleagues at BACP might also be able to answer that. But Fernando, I'll see if you happen to know that first, about any resources on that.
In most cases, no. In most cases, no. The only one, because in Chicago it just came up, as like the cannabis one, where like there can only be so many locations within, but that's a different kind of, that's the only one that I know that has like a restriction on it. But in most cases, you know, it's an open free market, and in my general area, there's, in a 10-mile radius, there's 20 other groomers. All right, so it is a lot of competition, but don't let that deter you. If that's kind of the answer you're looking for, if there's more competition, if that's bad, not necessarily, because it always comes down to, just because there's a lot of businesses that do what you do, they have to do it in the same way that you're doing it in order for them to also be successful. They have to also do a market analysis and do all this stuff. So if you're looking at an area and you know that it's saturated, but you really, really want to do it, you're going to have to just work a little bit harder to make sure that you're capturing those targets. Or if you got to figure out as well what you got to do to take clients away from other business, right, that maybe isn't providing the services to their full potential. But as far as limitations, in most cases, there's not limitations of the same type of business being in the same area.
What I thought as well. So I think that, it looks like we may have gotten, yes, Yancy said, thank you so much for that. So happy that we were able to answer that question, or that Fernando was able to answer that. So I just want to do another, as you can see from Fernando's last slide here, you've got his contact information. The score.org is a great place, a great resource that we've mentioned as well. You can see about Fernando's actual businesses as well, Foster Maven, and then his LinkedIn, as he's provided you with. So lots of great information to follow up with Fernando. He's very generously saying it's okay to do that. So we hope you all have learned a lot. I saw a bunch of comments come in that said, thank you you so much. And Fernando, thank you for leading this great conversation and for really, it's a wealth of information. So I believe that there will be a follow-up with a link to this recording, but I'll pass it back to Stella at BACP to see if there's anything else that our colleagues at the City of Chicago want to add.
No, thank you, Fernando, for your presentation. If you are part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program and would like to join the program, please visit chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Again, that's chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Thank you and see you on Friday.
All right, bye guys. Thank you.
Hey.